Hey guys, I'm Simon from MSJ Offroad, and today we are going to be building our Front Line Topper. To start, we laid out the top and the roof rails. This is kind of the opposite of the Vanguard if you watched that recent video, where with that we start at the bottom and work our way up. This we're doing the opposite, where we're starting at the top and working our way down. So we start by laying out these rails. I'll go close to the camera real quick, just to show. This arrow points forwards. That's what that F stands for. And you can also tell a few ways what is the front on your physical panel. So as these numbers go up, you're going towards the back, and also obviously the back is going to have the tail light. So make sure this arrow is pointing away from the tail light. We're going to go ahead and prep this by getting our caulk gun out. We want to make sure we put some caulking around these bolts, so it doesn't leak. So we'll go get that prepped and we'll be right back. Real quick before we get started, we're just going to show you how we prep the caulk gun. So Cheyenne, take it away. So he's just using a razor to cut off the tip of the caulk sausage. Then puts it in the gun. Throw that tip on. And there's a lock ring that goes around that. Cut the tip off that. Sweet, all ready to go. Now that we got that caulk gun prepped, we're going to put it on the studs just around the base. And when we put that on, that'll fill in that hole. So we'll just show you a few examples. And then we also do a line through there just to hold it while we're putting it on. Sweet. Okay, now that we have the caulker on all the studs, we're going to go ahead and put this on. So Cheyenne's going to lift that panel, and he's going to slide that underneath. This is something you kind of want to be careful with while you're doing it, because you only get, not that you really only get one chance, but once you smear that caulk on the top, it's kind of a pain to clean up. So as you can see right here, we're getting this pretty much lined up. Kind of a pain to, there we go. So it goes through just like that. And you'll kind of see the caulking squeeze through. That's what gives it that nice waterproof seal. And then we'll just go through and put the nuts on that, and it'll keep it secure. Alrighty guys, before we move on, we just want to go through really quick what comes in this box. We realized we skipped a step with explaining that. So this is going to be your camper seal. This is going to go over all the edges and things. We'll show you how to use that. This is the B camper seal. This goes in between the topper itself and the truck bed, so I can move that out of the way. This is a rear type of seal that we use on the topper edges. It does come with one. I'll show you what that looks like. But we've noticed with like 4th gen Tacomas, this one works better because those truck tailgates have a spoiler. So we include this with all trucks just in case your truck is like that. Move that out of the way as well. In the box, you'll notice we provide the attaching mechanisms for whatever type of truck you have. So if we're just going right to the truck bed, you'll use this. However, if you're using your factory rails, if your truck is equipped with that, you'll see these. Lots of keys come included. The caulking gun and the caulking, as you saw Cheyenne using, also come included, as well as all the hardware here. And yeah, that's everything here for you. Alrighty guys, now that we went over all the supplies that come with it, we're going to use that camper seal. We're going to go all around this top edge as well as the side panels. I'll show you that after we do the top one. But what we're going to do is we're just going to stick this right on there, right over these holes. They look kind of like that. And we're just going to tear the backing off, and go along. Kind of adhere this to each of the sides, and then we'll use our razor, cut it to length, and then what we'll do is we'll go through, find all the holes,
do a little X with your razor so that we can puncture that hardware through. And that's what we'll do all around, and we'll come back to you. Alrighty guys, now that we got the seal on the roof, we laid out all of our panels. Sorry, it's a bit of a mess. We're running low on space. But next, now that we've done the roof, we're going to take our camper seal. We're going to do the front and the rear on the sides here. We're going to do that same kind of crisscross pattern where we puncture the holes. So I'm just going to take it right here, go all the way along. Cut this right here, cut this right here. And then we'll just make sure we hit all those holes. Sweet, and we'll just do that on all the rest, and then we'll show you the next step. Okay guys, now that we got the front and rear prepped, we got the tape on and got all those X's cut, now we can start putting the panels on the roof. So we're going to start with this one. I'll walk you guys through how to identify which one's the left and right. So I'm going to take this panel over to it, set it on top. And the way I was able to identify that this was the right side is first that this is a straight 90 and this one kind of tapers. This one was a little more difficult for us to tell which one was that. So there's also this label here for front left and back left on these. So we label them too if you're ever having difficulty identifying it based on the angle. Now that we got this on, we can take our hardware, pop it in through the bottom. After I put a washer on it, make sure you put a washer on it. So we're going to take that, pop it up through the bottom. First one's always the worst. And then we'll get a nut on there. So just like that, and then we'll rinse and repeat through the rest. One real quick note we wanted to mention for you guys is, if you see how far apart these holes are, this is how you're going to be able to tell where this panel goes. There's two of these that are super close together. This panel should basically just be right in the middle of them. And make sure, well, we'll show you kind of as we're going, but we don't want to tighten these down with an impact yet until all the panels are on. That way you can still kind of move this back and forth to align all those panels. So now that we did the other side, we're just going to throw this one on, similar to how we did the other side. This one we did put the hardware through on the bottom first. Sometimes that can help get the stud through the tape, which makes it a little easier. And then we'll just tighten these down. Awesome. Now that we got that side on, we're going to go ahead and get the rear on. These ones are a little more fun than the sides because you have to not only line up the bottom, but also match it up with the sides. So what we'll do here is we'll get a few of these bottom ones down. And then after that, we will also get a few bolts through the sides like this. So generally we want to put the bolt through the back, get it through to the front, and that'll lock it in place. And I'll do the same thing to the other side. If I can get the washer on. Oops, make sure the sealant stays. Get that locked in, and then get the bolt on. And then we'll just go through, get all of them through and tighten them up, and then we'll do the front. Okay, now that we got the rear on, we're going to go ahead and throw the front on. We got to make sure that we leave them all finger tight so that way they align. Once we get this panel on and all the nuts finger tight, then we can hit it with the impact. Now that we have everything in place, all the bolts through all the panels and the nuts finger tight, we're just going to use our impact with a wobbler and a shallow 13 go through, make sure everything's tight. Sometimes you'll have to use an Allen key to kind of make sure everything gets tightened all the way down, but we'll go ahead and do that now. The last thing we're going to do before we flip this over is we're going to put the weather stripping on, so that way this is weather tight with the bed. So we're just going to pull the adhesive back and stick this on as we go around. So we'll do this real quick and then we'll show you once we're flipped over. Alrighty guys, now that we got it flipped over, we're just going to go ahead and tape up the seams and put some caulking there. At this point, you're probably going to have this all on the truck, so just be careful not to get any on the truck. But what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to take the tape, go about a 1/4 inch away from any of these seams, lay it down just like that, and then we'll do it all around the whole camper, and then we'll get ready to caulk. So now we're just going to go ahead and caulk these seams. If you've ever done baseboards, it's pretty similar to that. So we're just going to lay a bead down, and then once we have a bead down everywhere, we'll go back through and smooth it over. So this gives you kind of a rough idea of how it looks when we first put it down. Obviously, it's not going to be perfect. We just have to go back and smooth it over once we lay a bead everywhere. Awesome, now that we got everything started, we're just going to go through, use a finger and kind of make it seamless, and that gives that kind of finished look. So. And then one of the last things you're going to want to do before this caulking dries is just remove the tape. If you wait too long, it can start to dry to the tape and create imperfections, so you are going to want to remove this while the caulking is still wet. Okay guys, so we're getting ready to install this on the truck. I just wanted to show how these mounting types work. So this is kind of a clamshell type that goes underneath the lip of the truck bed, and then we're just going to do a washer and a bolt through that. Once we tighten that down, we'll use a locking nut like this to keep it from spinning.